Continuing our coronavirus coverage now, we're hearing from many of you with questions about going back to work in a week or so when the governor's safer at home order expires April 30th. For example, what are your rights as an employee when it comes to the expectation of safety? I put some of your questions earlier today to our legal analyst, Greg Isaacs. Greg, it's good to see you.
It's great to be here in the parking lot at WATE, Lori.
We're practicing social distancing still.
Absolutely.
But we wanted to ask you, in light of the governor saying, listen, businesses can start to reopen very soon, beginning Monday, some of them. This begs the question, what is an employee's right and an employer's right when it comes to maintaining safety at work?
Well, what an issue. Governor Lee has now announced that he's going to let his stay-at-home order expire. He's going to work with the 6 most populous counties with their health departments, their mayors, to come up with a plan to reopen and transition the economy. And there's going to be guidelines. So, you know, if you are an employer, as you go through this transition, it is important to use reasonable care. And in establishing what the standard is or your duty, you need to look at what the federal government is setting forth. Fauci, the CDC. You need to really be aware of the guidelines that Governor Lee is going to set forth along with your local officials. And then you have a duty to use reasonable care. So if they say take temperatures, take temperatures. If they require masks, you need to require masks. Because if you are negligent, then an employee could, in theory, have a cause of action in the workplace.
You could see some lawsuits if somebody contracts COVID-19 after they go back to work.
Well, you could, you know, maintain your social distancing, etc. Tennessee is an employee at will state, so I think if your employer says it's time to come back to work, unless you have a contract that says otherwise, you could be compelled to come back to the workplace.
So even if you're afraid and you're saying, listen, I know what the governor said, but I don't necessarily agree, and you're not ready to go back, you still...
Yeah, and pandemics in the law are something it's foreign. There's been one case, it was a Supreme Court case, Jacobson versus Massachusetts in 1905, where a individual was compelled to take the smallpox virus when that pandemic hit. So, you know, we have to listen to the government, so everybody needs to be smart. And if you're an employer, I would be ultra careful and vigilant, because not only do you have to use reasonable care, this coronavirus is so dangerous you may be strictly liable. For example, if you're handling nuclear waste, if you're handling an exotic animal, you don't have a duty to use reasonable care. You have an absolute duty to make people safe. And I think this may rise to that level.
Really?
So everybody needs to read and adhere to all the federal guidelines, the state guidelines, and the local guidelines as we go through this transition phase to reboot our economy and assimilate everybody back out in public.
Very good. Greg, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. Hope to see you out soon.
That would be good. We look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our thanks to Greg Isaacs. If you have a question for Greg, send him an email at askisaacs@wate.com.